X-Men. Get it!
Ho 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 everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your Holly Jolly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
Ho ho ho, it's Adam.
I already did ho ho ho, you gotta do something different.
Don't
steal my thunder.
Deck the halls, I'm Adam.
And
No.
I'm Zack. Thank you, Adam, for not stepping on my Christmas cheer, not being a Grinch in these trying times.
Would never.
You would never be a Grinch. I would like to avoid thinking about the Grinch as much as possible, and yet I continue to every waking moment of my life. Just how unhealthy is it for your heart to grow 3 sizes in a single day? I don't get it.
I try to think about the Grinch as little as possible. And just so that I don't step on your toes, we invited some extra Christmas elves to help us this week so that they can step on your toes too.
Mm-hmm. We're from the island of misfit toys.
Joining us for consecutively the 4th and 3rd Christmases in a row, it is Christi and Chris Eddleman. Folks, how are you this evening?
I didn't know that New Jersey was suddenly called the island of misfit toys.
I think it's appropriate.
New Jersey's not an island, though, right? Like,
it has
no.
islands, but in general...
No, but lots of people like to wear the Misfits shirts. So, it's a very punk rock state.
Everyone thinks of Jersey as punk rock. All of your famous Jersey musicians, really, they have punk rock aesthetic. Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, the other ones.
The other ones.
George R.R. Martin.
I have
George R.R.
driven
Martin from
past
New Jersey?
the John Bon
He's originally
Jovi
from New Jersey. He does not
rest
live there
stop.
now. I know this, for example, because... I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
I know this because George R. They love to put in the DMVs here, like pictures and quotes of famous New Jerseyans, and one of them was George R.R. Martin.
What did he say? Did he say, like, I must find the Elden Ring?
I can't even remember. I was just like, what's George R.R. Martin doing here?
He said, "You think your wait at the DMV is long? Wait till this."
Okay. In X-Men writer George R.R. Martin's defense, if I had all of that money, I too would not write a book.
Yeah, duh. Like he owns like a little indie theater that he just shows whatever movies he wants at it, and I'm like, yeah, that's the life. Like, why would you do anything else?
Great. It's great.
George R.R. Martin, the Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips character Ethan Reckless, because that sounds great. That's a joke for people who have read comics in the last 6 months, Chris.
Yeah, so since the last time we
hiatus.
had you on, Chris's on Infinite Earths has ended, and from what we hear, you have not been reading comics or podcasting about comics. So how's it feel to be back?
Yeah, to be free, really.
Reading a lot of novels. I read I read probably like 20 to 30 books this summer.
Wow.
I would read
War
like
and
2
Peace
or
Book
3
Club
a week.
update. Chris is also part of the War and Peace Book Club.
Oh, that's true. And I am up to date.
I've been reading a lot of Marvel Snap cards.
I'm working on that.
So Christy will wake up, and before I am awake, she's already played like 3 games of Marvel Snap.
Nice.
And then I let Chris know, like, oh, I'm up to 35. I am at level 35 now.
Wow.
This season.
That's good.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Friends list can't come soon enough. Also, I'm 44 right now, so get on my
humble
level.
brag.
I
Oh,
dropped.
yeah, whatever, mister. I can work from home.
Listen, okay, fair. If I need like 5 minutes, I'm like, well, Kazar goes over here and Lockjaw goes over here, and then we throw Swarm in there and see what happens.
Yeah, but Zach, you have to make sure you remember the Washington Post's advice: no more than 2 games while you're on the toilet. Okay, because then you get
Otherwise,
hemorrhoids.
your legs start to fall asleep.
No, they apparently talk about it. It's more likely for you to get hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
If you sit
What an
too long
article.
on the toilet.
Hey, this is a Christmas episode.
And we're enjoying each other's company.
Yeah,
as
it's
is
beginning
the
to look
best
a lot
Christmas
like
tradition.
Chris's.
So we picked these stories, right, Zach? Nobody requested.
You say
any of this
we.
stuff?
I picked these stories because I thought about two of the funny ones in my head when sometimes I'm just like, oh, this would be a fun joke for me. And then we found a third one. It turns out after 6 years of doing X-Men Christmas episodes, we're running towards the bottom of the barrel. We are not out of them, but we're close.
Yeah.
So
Slim
what you're
pickings.
saying is that these are the most, aged and have the most mature flavor.
Yes, like a bottle of
profiles.
wine.
One of these does have X-Men in the title, and frankly, I was kind of amazed that you were still able to find one.
I had actually forgotten about the one that has X-Men in the title. I was like, oh yeah, that is a Christmas story. Good for me.
Yay.
It is literally an issue of Uncanny X-Men that has Christmas.
Yeah.
And not one of the ones you've already thought about. Because, folks, there's several. We've covered, I think, 5 or 6 on this podcast. It's not one of those.
Nope.
They haven't done one since the Merry Xmas special, have they? Like that's
They
been
No.
haven't. Well, you say that, but currently, Dark Web X-Men is a Christmas story.
Oh, that's good.
Oh.
I honestly
Okay.
think that they are missing out with not doing a Krakoan Christmas anthology.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Think about the tree trimmings.
Mhm.
Think
Ugh.
about decking those halls.
Yeah.
Also,
Think about next year's podcast.
please do it for us.
So I don't want to spoil Dark Web X-Men because I've already written that down as next year because again, barrels are running thin, folks. We've only got a bit going on this. And to tell you how deep we are digging into this. Hey Adam, do you hear that?
I'm waiting for it.
Do you hear beep 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 beep? It's an X-Men update, folks. We haven't even gone to X-Man, but instead have gone to Amazing Spider-Man number 420.
Twas the night before X-Man.
Great title. No notes on that. This is a comic written by Tom DeFalco with pencils by Steve Scroki. Bud LaRosa's on those inks, Bob Sharon on those colors, and you know it's Richard Starking in Comicraft.
Yeah. I'm really glad that we have the Chris's here because they can explain the Uno and Black Tarantula to me. I'm
Listen,
kidding.
I was
I'm
like,
kidding.
I
Wait,
think
hold on.
there's
Black
Spider-Man
Tarantula.
thing.
Black Tarantula kind of rules in the Ed Brubaker Daredevil. That's all I know about Black Tarantula.
Well,
So that must be like the attempt here to continue the through line of Amazing Spider-Man stories while also doing a Christmas interlude. That's got to be it, right?
yes. Yes.
It has to. El Uno only has 2 appearances, so this is Dos for El Uno, and it's
then
his
he's
last
gone?
one.
Yeah,
Well,
it
he
is.
got-
It is. His final appearance as
There's
RIP.
there's some gang war going on with the Rose. I don't care. Do you guys care about the Rose?
No, that's not what
Honestly,
we're
that
talking
part
about
of the story not as interesting to me as the X-Man part, and even the X-Man part wasn't that interesting.
So
Period.
Well, that's
Richard
the
Starking's
story of
all-star
X-Man.
on this. All-star. Comicraft lettering, always good.
always good. I do want to start with the cover on this, which sometimes what you see is not what you get in a comic. Because on the cover, you have Nate Gray smirking at the camera as he explodes Spider-Man's clothes off.
with his with Spidey costume underneath.
Yes, but he's exploding his clothes off. Exactly what happens in the middle of this comic too.
Yes,
They were right on this.
Don't tell Nate Gray your secrets.
So, folks, for a quick recap on this issue that I'm sure we have all read multiple times, Spider-Man is trying to get pictures for the Daily Bugle of this new street preacher who's hanging out in Central Park. And wouldn't you know it, he runs into X-Man in the middle of his Messiah Complex era, go back to 4 years ago when we covered that story with me and Chris Hassan. That was, oh my gosh, that was 4 years ago. Time not working in my favor anymore. But yeah, Nate's being a street preacher and he sees Spider-Man and then he's like, oh, I know who you're not Peter Parker, you're Spider-Man. We should be best friends.
It's a real Beyonder type situation, you know? Like, Spidey kind of has to teach Nate Gray how to, you know, be cool and like chill out and not like tell everybody that he's Spider-Man or you know, not.
And he takes his clothes off and their faces get real close and they don't kiss.
It's true. There's such opportunity here for tension.
I think it is bananas that canonically one of the years of Spider-Man's life he has spent Christmas with Nate Gray.
I think it's beautiful because what happens is Nate knows that Spider-Man's going through a lot. For folks who are not up to date on Spider-Man canon, this is pretty soon after the end of the Clone Saga, where Spider-Man and Mary Jane's baby gets kidnapped
Mm-hmm.
to never be seen again.
Wow.
Literally just, it hasn't come up, which is fine.
Is it fine?
I don't think so.
I think for Spider-Man to be an ongoing concern, as much as I love sad dad comics, I can understand them being like, let's not have a baby. What they should have done is not put a baby in Spider-Man's life to begin with and not had Spider-Man now have a missing child for 30 years.
It really is amazing the lengths that Marvel will go to keep Spider-Man familyless. You know,
just don't give him the baby in the first place. That's all you had to do.
They just need the baby to age up, get powers, become a fully formed adult, and then
that's fine.
They could come.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Or an old
Chrissy,
baby.
I've got fantastic news for you about 100 issues of Spider-Girl. Because Mayday Parker had a long-running series with Tom DeFalco for some unknown reason.
People like Mayday.
That comic was still ongoing when I started reading comics in 2008, and it was like the only what is it, of the MC2 or whatever they call that comic still going by like a large margin.
Yeah, the MC2, which had Wild Thing, J2, and that was about it.
And Spider-Girl. And
Spider-Girl
loves Spider-Girl the best.
Now,
they do.
I don't want us to overlook the fact that there is a baby in this issue, although it is the most disturbing adult baby.
Oh, it looks like an old man, and I don't mean that in the way that babies look like old men. It literally just looks like a cartoonish old man who is a baby
in a tiny ball cap.
I do when comic artists are like, people don't talk enough about comic art, I do want them to know that I do talk about how much they cannot draw babies. And it's like 90% of them cannot draw babies. It's like when it happens the right way, I'm like, oh, look at this.
What a great baby. Look at this good little baby. Look at this little guy with chubby cheeks.
Who could draw babies? June Brigman, always good for a baby drawing.
You know, I'm trying to remember. I just read a comic last week that had a great baby drawing.
Was it Johnny Boggs? Johnny Boggs is good at drawing.
It wasn't Johnny Boggs. They weren't babies. They were just children. But the new Moon Girl in Devil Dinosaur miniseries.
Yeah.
Actually,
nice job.
Had fantastic babies.
Yeah.
For children.
God, a lot of times they just cannot do it.
Feels like they aged them down a little bit, but anyway, we're getting away.
We're getting the weeds. Sorry.
So even though Nate is poking around in Spidey's noggin, he does also allow Spider-Man to see the Age of Apocalypse, which is kind of wild. He's just like,
Spider-Man
hey, man.
talks about how bad of a life he's having, and Nate's like, "Yo, check this," and then Spider-Man's like, Okay.
Ooh, okay.
All right. This is worse. Fine. Now we're both unhappy. Thank you.
Bonding over shared trauma is like, I think it's first base in friendship, right? That's like where you start.
Yeah. And then of course the next step is to invade your friend's dreams with visions of their dead loved ones. And
his aunt isn't dead.
No, bud. Peter Parker. Aunt May died in Spider-Man 400.
Well, then who are they having?
Okay, wait.
Christmas dinner with?
They're having Christmas dinner with Anna Watson.
Gotcha.
But Also, Chris, as I know you know, and I'm not 100% sure Christy knows, that wasn't Aunt May.
No.
That was an actress Norman Osborn hired in her greatest role. But then also it wasn't Norman Osborn who hired it. It was a computer ghost of Harry Osborn?
Spider-Man
I'm
is
trying to
really
remember
confusing.
the end of Spencer's Spider-Man.
Oh man, it made everything worse in terms of like complicating continuity.
You might
Except
need
for
to
Sins
edit
Past,
out
which
the
it kind of
sound
made
of my
better.
eye roll.
Yeah. Maybe put a sound effect in, like, ugh.
Listen, I'm never going to get over the fact that they said, yes, it was an actress in her greatest role. And that was all the explanation you need. As if any actress would be like, yes, I do want to die just for the craft here.
Oh, man.
Look, method acting sometimes gets very extreme.
This is pretty much how I expect all of my relationships to go at some point. Yes, it was an actor all along, and now you watch them die.
Well, Christy, I got some really upsetting news for you then.
Oh no, Zach!
What kind of show is this?
It's a long con because we've done 280 episodes of it.
So Peter Parker seems very pleased by his vision of Aunt May, even though Aunt May is very clearly not Aunt May. And Nate Gray says, "Merry Christmas," and off we go. So listen, this is not a good issue of comics.
Oh, it's not.
So we should probably try and rank this on our big old list. Zach, what do you think?
I think we should. Hey, Christy, did you know about our big old list?
I did, although I'm sure it's grown the last time we were here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing
You better
is,
check it twice.
You better check it twice.
Stole my joke. Right out from under me. Right out from under me, Christy. We have made this list. We are checking it more than one time. We have 720 X-Men stories on this list from best to worst of all the X-Men stories of all time.
I didn't even know there
So
were that
I
many.
swear last time it was 400.
But
No, probably not.
we're on the road to 800 now.
Oh my gosh.
It's a nonstop train
Yeah.
to me and Adam's eventual early graves, and that's fine. It's where we're at. This is our greatest role, so we're able to do that.
Oh,
The best X-Men story of all time is House of X Powers of 10, a book that I got a nice printed version of, not the actual comic, but my friend Chris and Rob's writings on that comic sent to me in the mail the other day, which was
Oh, for
Life
real?
Christmas
I have
present from-
it on my shelf. It's
Oh,
literally
yeah,
right
yeah,
above
yeah,
me.
yeah. A great friend of ours, who I don't know if they want to be named, so I'm not going to, but they did send me a hardbound copy of Hoxpox Talks, the annotating the foundations of modern X-Men by Chris Eddleman and Robert Secundus, with editing by Zachary Jenkins.
I need a copy of this.
Well, when we have it publicly available at some point in the nebulous future, maybe someday, I will make sure you get one, Adam.
I keep saying
Rob
in
and
the
I want to
Slack,
write a retrospective, but we just haven't done it yet.
There you go, a little afterwards.
Chris, I do think the theme of this year is all of us being like, yeah, we'll write about comics someday. We'll do that comics thing again sometime.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's all good. Number 100 is Giant Size X-Men number 1. Number 200 on this list is the Generation X Underground Special. Number 300 on this list is Gambit Volume 1. Number 400 on this list is X-Men 17 through 19 Skinning of Souls, which isn't a Christmas story, but does involve snow, so next year we might count it. Number 500 on this list is X-Men 30 Operation Zero Tolerance. Number 600 on this list.
Okay,
It's close. Number 600 on this list is Star Trek X-Men. And number 700 on this list is... What is 700? Oh, it's Deadpool versus X-Force. A bad comic with fantastic Pepe Larraz art.
Yeah.
720 is the Draco.
All right, so
Nothing has unseated the Draco.
nope.
It's so bad.
Nope.
Chris,
Nobody looks like
were you the one who suggested the Draco?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was the Draco guy.
Bless you.
You were the Draco guy back in
Yeah.
the before times.
Love it.
Welcome before times. I even read it before suggesting it because I didn't want to be a jerk. Because I was like, I've heard it's bad, but is it bad? And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty bad.
It's beautiful to see how this has blossomed from there.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Listen, Draco's still at the bottom. It's going to stay that way for a while.
It's not going anywhere.
Is this better or worse than X-Man 30, the Operation Zero Tolerance issue?
I think it's worse. I actually think once I started looking down the list, I think we're in the 600s here, because I don't think this is as good as Volume 1 of Iceman at 603.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
That's I've read Iceman Volume 1, and this is definitely worse than that.
Yeah. It's probably not as bad as 614. Even though it has that great Bill Sienkiewicz art, but that arc of New Mutants 29 to 34, Gladiators and Karma.
Oh, with the incredibly racist and fatphobic stuff, just like that you can't avoid in it. Yeah.
But hold on, at 618 is the Warren Ellis X-Man 67 to 70 Infinities of Evil.
Okay, this is not as good as that though.
Yeah, so we just keep working our ways down. I don't know if this is as bad as the Romulus arc of Wolverine Origins at 622 though.
That's pretty bad.
This is worse than that?
No, I think Romulus is pretty bad.
Like this
Romulus is pretty bad, though I have to defend this specific arc. This is just an arc named Romulus. It is not all of the worst Romulus stuff.
Yeah, he just appears at the end.
There is worse Romulus yet to come.
We haven't gotten that.
This isn't as bad as Spider-Man Storm Power Man Smokescreen at 624.
All right, so it's better than these? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's under Smokescreen. Guys, I'm really glad that we have you on, because now all we're talking about is the most obscure X-Men comics that I know you haven't read. Adam, is this better or worse than Captain Marvel 2 and 3? Note this is the Genis Vell Captain Marvel, where by the second issue, Fabian Nicieza was like, actually, I'm just going to tell my secret origin of Adam X the Extreme here.
All right, I found out where this should go, because it's better than that. I think it's also better than X-Men Hidden Years 6 and 7, but I don't think it's as good as that Incredible Hulk issue where the Beast, and the Incredible Hulk fight, and there's that parade.
Oh, the Halloween Town parade.
Yeah. So this should be our new 633. What do you think?
Does anyone have objections or strong feelings about X-Men The Hidden Year 6 and 7?
A John Byrne comic where they retcon.
I don't like John Byrne when he is allowed to do anything he wants.
Great.
Well, great news for our next story. Amazing Spider-Man 420 is at the 633rd spot on the list. And folks, I want to give it up to us. We showed so much self-restraint by not talking about how that was the weed number of Spider-Man for the entire time.
Absolutely. Nobody blazed it in this whole comic. Like, imagine if Ghost Rider had showed up and they said, like, Johnny blazed it. Or Johnny blazed it.
Let's redo Spider-Man 420 and have Ghost Rider show up. That would be fantastic. I do think that Nate Gray would be a terrible person to blaze it with. I feel like he would be the worst. Spider-Man would be paranoid the whole time. But Nate Gray would be annoying.
Nate Gray would be the worst. The absolute worst.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. So next on our list to talk about is a comic that could not be more from 2005 than if it tried. Folks, you know about the X-Men, right?
I've heard of them.
You know about X-Force?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I do know about X-Force.
The Force.
You know about the Uncanny Avengers, which are that team of X-Men and Avengers sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did read both of those volumes.
Well, there's 3 of them, Chris. You're forgetting the secret middle volume where they retconned Scarlet Witch and Pietro Maximov's whole origin.
What's funny is I remembered that one. I forgot the all different one. That's my bad.
You forgot the... Oh, that's good. I
forgot the one where Spider-Man's on the team.
Yeah. Well, no, Spider-Man does quit the team immediately in that one.
That's right.
He is literally just on the cover to sell the first issue, which is
incredible.
It's great. Love
if
that
you
art.
want to know about the creative times that Marvel was having in 2015, 2016, it was then. You know, Uncanny and X-Force and Factor and Gen X and New Mutants and other ones. There's so many ranges, but do you recall the most famous X team of all? It's the Great Lakes X-Men. I'm sorry. That bit should have been rehearsed beforehand. I thought of it on the fly. We're talking about the Great Lakes the GLX-Mas Special, Volume 1, Number 1.
All right.
Written by Dan Slott.
Hold on. Zach, gonna call an audible here. This is not an X-Men story. This has
That's
no
weird
X-Men in it. It has no X-Men.
It has the Great Lakes X-Men.
Yeah.
Doorman and Big Bertha and Flatman and Squirrel Girl?
Don't you mean the Great Lakes Avengers?
Okay, well, the problem is at the end of GLA, which was a GSA riff, they realized that they were all mutants, except for Squirrel Girl was lying about it because the doctor did tell her that she's not a mutant. She is legally distinct from a mutant, but very similar to one. And she just kept telling people that she was a mutant to be cool.
Legally distinct.
Yeah, legally
distinct. And this can never change forever and ever. You know what I said about 2016 Marvel being bad? Squirrel Girl is the exception because that book ripped.
that book did rip. That was like one of the best All New All Different.
Okay, I was so excited to read this because I finally got to read Squirrel Girl beating Thanos.
This is the comic where Squirrel Girl does canonically beat Thanos, not a simulacrum or anything.
A clone or an alternate universe.
Yeah, the real Thanos.
So that is the most interesting thing about this comic. That is by Dan Slott with a bunch of artists: George Gentry, Ty Templeton, Paul Grist, Mike Cosell, and who else? Matt Haley. The most interesting thing about this is that this is where the unbeatable part of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl comes from.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just Dan Slott had one great idea here.
Yeah, we're really.
It was enough to make the issue for me.
Yeah, Christy was like, I kind of liked this GLX one. It was kind of fun. I was whelmed, very whelmed.
Well, we're dealing with a series of shorts here. So the first one is Squirrel Girl and Tippy Toe beating up MODOK and then later Thanos, right?
This is after the unfortunate death of her original squirrel, whose name was Monkey Joe.
Yes, Monkey Joe, who was killed by Leatherman.
Not cool.
Which it's a weird. He's an S&M themed supervillain who was on the Great Lakes Avengers, and then when they decided to be the Great Lakes X-Men, they all got new X-Men leather costumes, and then in this issue they tell us, by the way, we found out that those were made by Leatherman or Leatherboy, our arch nemesis, so we decided not to wear those anymore. Which fair, but also, man, this is a weirdly dated comic.
Yeah. So we also get a story about what's the immortal guy's name?
Mr. Immortal.
Mr. Immortal.
From the television show The She-Hulk.
And
which I still haven't watched. For people who are curious if I've watched She-Hulk yet, since we've talked about it for months, still not watched it.
Should check it out. It's a lot of fun.
I hear Craig Hollis, Mr. Immortal, is in it.
That I don't remember.
True.
Is it?
Yeah, he's in like one episode.
He was.
Yeah,
I
do remember that. I do remember that. Yeah, it's not this character. Like it's
no, although they're both silly, it's funny because DC has a character that's very similar in terms of powers, but instead it's like a very serious character.
Right. Everyone's favorite DC character.
The Immortal Man.
Oh, I was going to say something else, but I couldn't think of a joke fast enough. I was going to be like, Batman. I was like, no, Batman doesn't die enough. Who dies a lot in DC? Hal Jordan? Not really. Firestorm? Does Firestorm die a lot? Martian Manhunter.
There's a lot of Martian Manhunter does die.
That's the one.
Rip.
He's who you kill off when you want to cross over to be big.
I mean, it's DC. I mean, they kind of reset every couple of years, don't they?
I'm always. I once knew it. I'm lost now.
Wait, speaking Chris, of killing people off.
Yes.
This was my first experience of Dinosaur, and I am so sad. I am learning about Dinosaur in like a mournful retrospective of her death. So,
are you a big fan? Maybe you should go back and read Great Lakes Avengers. It wasn't ongoing.
It was 4 issues. Hold on, let's talk.
Was it really only 4? Was it really only 4 issues?
It was 4 issues, and then this special, and then a summer special. And
I feel like I could get really invested in these 6 issues.
How are there more issues of Seth Green's Freshmen than there are of the GLA, which to me is a similar vibe?
These are the mysteries of life that you should not question.
For some
But
reason,
yeah.
I thought there was like a full series of GLA. They keep coming back.
There was a
There was
volume that was more
there was
recent.
again 2016 Marvel volume of Great Lakes Avengers. That was based on the fact that Squirrel Girl was now too popular to be on their team, which is to me incredibly funny. I didn't read the rest of that because it did have my least favorite artist in the standard Marvel roster on it, but it does have Marvel's only canonical furry. I cannot tell you if the book is good or not, but I do know that it does have Marvel's only canonical furry, who's a character named Good Boy, who is a girl with werewolf powers.
Mm,
So she's a gender swapped when she does her fur form, and she's still unpacking some of that.
I bet.
Again, I cannot speak to the quality of this series. It seems like it's jumping in some dicey territory for Marvel's jokey comedy books.
I will be unpacking the Flock U for quite some time. That was really where
They like
we
led
went.
up to it too.
Yes, like previewed that
like someone
that
was
it was
really,
bad and
really
that it
proud
would
of
be
that.
here.
Well, Dan
That
Slott,
someone was Dan Slott.
Dan
We
Slott
never knew
is,
it was.
yeah, he's telling jokes here, and most of them
He is doing yaks.
they do not land. Would I give him a little bit of credit? I mean, some of this is slightly clever. I did like the doorman story.
The Paul Grist doorman story. That one was my
Yes,
favorite.
where he
also.
goes back and tries to reconnect with his dad. His dad's like,
It's a
"Why
sad
don't
dad story. Of
Oh,
course, I
yeah.
loved it.
why don't you get a job?" And then it turns out that his dad's been dead the whole time.
And he
So-
is actual like death.
There to like
Yeah.
Yeah,
That one was kind of clever.
Yeah.
He's the black racer, bud.
and
He literally
just-
has skis. Yeah, he becomes the fourth world character, the black racer.
okay.
Yes.
And if we were gonna have any debates about whether or not this was an X-Men story, like there's Santa Claus in it, so it is
Santa
an
Claus?
X-Men story.
Santa Claus is canonically a mutant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Strongest.
That was
mutant
our
ever.
first X-Men Christmas special. I do
Well,
believe.
that's one. That one makes sense. You got to do it.
It was the first one we thought about. I feel like all of these stories are such a time capsule of a time, and it's interesting to look back and see what is same as comics today and what has very much changed in comics today. Still in comics today is that very few people can actually write comedy.
Hmm.
Truth.
I feel like here's like the jokes here aren't even like that dated because they're mostly toothless.
Yeah, like it's not even like there's some weird like outdated slurs or something. It's just like okay.
I did expect to come back to this and be like a little more offended.
Yeah,
just 'cause it was
expected
comedy
some
in
Deadpool
2005?
cable. Yeah, like that style humor. But no, it was just kind of it was like some light. It was like Laffy Taffy humor a little bit.
I enjoyed the Tom and Jerry-esque feel that we got from Tippy Toe and I can't remember the name of the
Death
the other
Urge.
school. Yeah. I thought that was fun.
Oh, okay.
I enjoy childish things quite a bit. I teach middle school. Like, that's where my humor level is at. So you guys talk about all this dated humor, and I'm like, yeah, that didn't land for me, any of it. No, definitely not.
There's nothing funnier to Christy than a fart joke. She loves them so much.
That's my standard of humor.
Yeah, so
Well, there are germs of things here that could be very funny. It's just I don't know. They just fall flat in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
I love the idea of using sort of like a classic Tom and Jerry style illustration style to tell that story, but it's also just kind of boring. Like, you know, I don't know.
It's
or-
no We Three. Let's say that.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Slott is, thinks he's being funnier than I think he actually is. But it's also like I think a lot of people take it for granted. Like, it is extremely difficult, especially in comics. I mean, in any form to construct comedy, but I feel like it's pretty tricky in comics with the timing and everything. And, it's not always easy to land. So, we should rank this. There's not a lot of X content here to really talk about. I think we kind of nailed it.
Where
Yeah,
do
it
we
doesn't
put-
really like break the continuity mold. There's not like a big.
No.
Oh, fun fact for people who are now wondering, wait, why don't the GLX still exist? It's because they went to a poker game and Rachel Gray got really upset that they were using the X-Men name. So she made them change it to the Defenders. And then Doctor Strange got really upset that they were using the Defenders name. So he made them change it to the Champions. And no one cared about the Champions, as they are wont to do.
Still
But-
true. Still true.
Hey, no, they have the hot teens on this now. Like the hot teen book is the Champions. That's definitely coming out.
There's not one
I
coming
would-
out right now, is there?
There's not. I wish Champions as a book was better on the whole.
It's a
than
great
it
cast.
Ever is. It's a great cast. It's a great concept. It needs to be better.
Yeah.
There's like 3 good Champion stories, I think. But
All right,
then
where are we throwing
did
this
join-
GLX?
Well, hold on. Let me finish the jail story. They were the champions, and then they joined the initiative back when they were doing the 50 States Initiative, and they became the team for like Wisconsin or whatever, and became the Great Lakes Initiative. And then after the Avengers got disassembled one of the times, after Secret Wars, I think it was.
I think it was
they-
Siege that ended the initiative, didn't it?
It was, but they didn't officially go back to being the Great Lakes Avengers until after Secret Wars, when they tried to take the name from copyright limbo and then lost the legal battles.
Oh man.
Deadpool bought the rights out from under them, apparently. I
love
I
this.
didn't finish that series.
Delightful.
It's weird because these characters, I haven't read their initial West Coast Avengers appearance, but it's John Byrne, and one of the characters who we didn't talk about in here is just not great. So I feel like he's being a little mean-spirited with them. I'm assuming because it's John Byrne.
Mean-spirited?
I mean,
Talk
I
about
feel
someone
like
who
it's
can't draw
supposed
babies. All right.
but I think the GLA are a good idea that I want someone to do something better with. Like, I'd like to see someone take a spin on them and make it good.
Oh yeah, there's fun
Yeah.
to be had with these characters. Zach, based on Chris's criticism this evening, I really think we should reshape the list based on how artists draw children and babies.
I mean, listen, those Power Pack stories are going to continue to be high.
Look, June
This is-
Brinkman knew how to draw babies. I don't know what to tell y'all.
I don't know, man. Is this better or worse than Amazing Spider-Man 420 Blaze It?
I mean, I think it's better.
Yeah, I think it's a little better.
Yeah.
For the Thanos defeat alone.
Yeah, for the Thanos defeat alone.
The
Agreed.
Thanos thing is pretty darn good. Because he made... I like that Dan Slott immediately made it so in case John Byrne ever came back to Marvel, he couldn't undo it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's exactly what he's doing there.
Hilarious.
Because John Byrne famously has undid plots with like Doctor Doom being defeated by someone that they shouldn't have.
Right.
Is this better or worse than Wolverine Bad Rock, Adam?
Geez. I think we're like right in the same area here, I think.
It's probably just as good as X-Men: the movie special #1 presented by Wizards of the Coast, which was a tie-in to the completely flopped Wizards of the Coast X-Men game, which I have 2 booster boxes of.
Nice. I do remember that.
This was they made a card game of the X-Men movie.
Chris, I have so much stuff to share with you and Misty now. The answer is yes. The art is atrocious.
It's really
and
weird.
Back in my Magic the Gathering days, when I was doing that thing where you would cut up cards with an X-Acto knife and like make 3D dioramas of them.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
I definitely did that with a handful of the X-Men cards
That sounds
that I
fun.
had. They were neat.
There was an era where Wizards of the Coast where they were like trying to make a bunch of card games, and then they were like, "What if we just made only one?" And then made a lot of money off of it, and that's what they did.
That was a smart move.
Do one thing well. I like it.
I do hear good things about their Star Wars card game that they made, but it's also like
Oh.
impossible to find. But
The one from the 90s ish.
yeah, it was. I think it was around like episode 1.
I know people played it. I didn't.
No, I mean,
It
yeah,
It wasn't a Pokemon.
yeah.
That was the problem.
Hard to beat.
So this is not as good as X-Men Volume 2 Half, which had Ringo art.
Oh yeah, the Thrall. This isn't as good as that. Is it? This is better than Chuck Austin's The Trial of Juggernaut, right?
Yes, it is.
Let's put it between that and the movie special.
All right,
from Wizards of
perfect.
the
So this is
Coast.
going to be our new 584 GLX-Mas. GLX-Mas. And for listeners who may take issue with that, I don't know. Just
Do your own podcast?
yeah, or I don't know. I would say
Adam, the answer is do your own podcast. I can tell you.
I guess that's
We've already recorded it. We're not going back. Of all the mistakes we've made on this list.
Well, we are going to finish with an actual issue of Uncanny X-Men here. This is 365. This is Steve Siegel and Chris Bachalo.
A good artist.
Yes. So this is right after Hunt for Xavier, but right before what?
Magneto War.
Magneto War comes right after this. So kind of a random, standalone issue that features Colossus.
It's the ghost of Xmas past. Colossus, having rejoined the team recently, is feeling all sad and stuff.
Aww.
And he keeps getting visited by a ghost. They do have to be very clear in this that this is not the same ghost that Gambit has been being visited with in this series very recently. This is an unrelated ghost activity. Gambit's like, oh, shoot, I got my own ghost to go deal with. I gotta leave this comic book right away.
He literally leaves a comic to go to his own comic. It's great.
I don't know if his own comic actually follows up on the ghost storyline. It's been a bit since I've read the Steve Siegel.
But it cracks me up. He's just like, I got my own thing to do. And they're like, check out Gambit. And I'm like, wow, he literally just leaving to go join his own comic.
It's great.
Colossus's ghost activity has gotten him being a bit of an insomniac. So he walks down to Wolverine's shed, where Wolverine's living in a shed, which is the right place for Wolverine to live. And he finds Gambit and Wolverine and Nightcrawler having beers, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't invite you. Sorry, we should have. It's like 3 a.m. and we're still drinking. We thought you were asleep. Sorry, man." Gambit and Wolverine both then immediately and we're out. It's such a wild choice. But it turns out the ghost is... Oh, no, it's not Nightcrawler. It's Puck. It's Puck who he's hanging out with.
Right. Who I would like to note, they make a mention of the mind-controlled Alpha Flight fight from earlier in the Siegel run that made no sense and was never followed up on. And I was like, oh, is he going to elaborate on that? Nope.
Oh yeah, you were there when we had that fight. Puck, who folks might remember from that episode where Wolverine and Puck teamed up with Ernest Hemingway, a writer who I have finally read something about, and I'm going to say Ernest Hemingway, pretty good.
Which one did you read?
I read The Old Man of the Sea. It turns out that book's great. There's so much shark punching.
Good choice. There's better.
Why does it?
But
okay, but that one was quick. Why doesn't anyone talk about how much shark punching that old man does in the sea?
I think people concentrate on the old man part too much. Maybe even the sea. But they should have named it Shark Puncher. And then
the back half of the book is a dude punching sharks repeatedly. It's 4 different scenes. And he's like, there's more sharks. I got to find new ways to punch them. Ernest Hemingway does not appear in this comic.
So let's talk a little bit about the mystery here, right? So, Christy, you're reading this issue, right?
Yep.
You see the Colossus being haunted by a woman of some kind, right?
Yep.
A woman with bangs. I'm like, it's Ilyana.
Yeah, I was like, that's his
Thank
sister.
you. Right?
Yeah.
Is there?
It was not even close to being a mystery.
Right? Are you buying that Piotr is confused by any of this?
Well, he's really dumb, right?
Yeah.
I Colossus is a character who I do expect to be tricked by people. I expect him to be bamboozled, hoodwinked, all of these things.
And I do heavily object to any issue of comics that aims to make me sympathize with him.
We only play him in our snap decks, and it's because he cannot be destroyed.
He's an incredibly solid pick.
I love Colossus.
For,
Come on.
he's got a lot of utility in Snap. I like Colossus. I want him to make some better life choices and make a few amends.
I did like that on the cover of this issue, he was kind of looking behind him in a way that he was maybe like scared, but he also was doing like a flex at the same time. That was pretty phenomenal.
It's a shame the cover is not Chris Bachalo, because the artwork in this is really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed the artwork. It definitely had the Chris Bachalo, like either lots of panels or like very few panels.
Adam, that is Chris Bachalo artwork.
The cover?
On the cover?
Yeah, look.
Did he
well,
sign it?
okay, you can't see his signature because it's covered up with the Ghost of Xmas Past, but you can see Tim Townsend's signature, which always follows.
That is 100% not Chris Bachalo.
I mean, I can only tell you exactly what it says.
I can see that Tim Townsend did the inking, but that is definitely not Chris Bachalo on the cover.
Is it
I will
Leo
figure
Francis
this out.
you?
It might be.
I think it might be. It
Yeah.
looks like you more than
does.
Bachalo. I'm just telling you.
It does
what
look like
what
me.
It says.
Ta-dum.
How did
Famous
we feel
X-Men artist.
about the like little prose bits in this?
That I don't love.
No,
because
Yeah, the
It's
story.
Go ahead,
It's like-
Christy.
It's not actually related to the ghost at all. It just thought it would be neat.
Well, I think Ileana somehow gets a lot of these little prose bits. I feel like I've seen this happen
She
a lot.
does.
With Ileana stuff.
Well, hold on
She,
a sec.
she got him in the hunt for magic, or the quest for magic in New X-Men, and she got him in the recent Vide a la Rodriguez stuff.
Mhm. She gets a lot of these little prose bits.
Okay, so am I mistaken though that I read this wrong? That there's a combination of things happening here. That Ileana is haunting, but also Marrow has been popping in to actually write the story.
Yes, that is what I got from this as well.
Yes.
So overly complicated mystery. That's what I'm
Right.
reading.
I am baffled by the decision of I snuck into your room and saw your art and I thought I should write on it. Like
I mean,
That's
Marrow's
a
kind
little
of that
sister
way.
thing.
Yeah, Marrow is just kind of that way. But it is like, as far as like serving the story, it is a little bizarre.
Yeah. It makes the structure of it and the reveal really strange. What is delightful though is Colossus kind of wandering around in his boxer shorts, running into Storm, who thinks he's had too much caffeine, Wolverine, who thinks he's had too much caffeine, Kitty and Nightcrawler, who are like, dude, seriously, stop drinking so much coffee.
this issue is just Colossus gets gaslit.
There is a ghost, is the thing.
Right.
And I feel like the X-Men should take ghosts more seriously. They have a demon carrion on their grounds.
Yeah.
I do think this like, for this being a Christmas issue, it was kind of cleverly written in a way that if someone was just like, oh, let me pick up a Christmas issue of X-Men, a thing that I only watched the cartoon of, or et cetera, that this was kind of like, oh, look, it's all your faves.
Yeah, if you wanted
And
an introduction to the lineup, because this is really when that lineup kind of comes back, and then it wasn't really what the intention of the book was going into this next phase, but I guess Marvel kind of wanted the OGs back. So
Yeah, they got 7 issues into it and realized that Maggot wasn't selling. You know?
no Maggot
Again,
in this issue. Unfortunate.
I'm upset that Maggot wasn't selling, but I understand.
Yeah. This is also the end of Siegel's run, correct?
Yep. He never writes anything about X-Men ever again. He has that Ben 10 money now. He does not care.
Yeah, that's a shame. We revisited other issues from this recently, and I like it. I think it's a fun run. So I
like
think
Steve Siegel again.
Yeah,
he's got better things to do.
No, he's probably making way more money.
He got to do his own thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is better than the other 2 stories we've talked about today, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know how much better it is.
I mean, Ileana did get to make fun of the way Colossus says her name.
Well, you mean like how he says in the cartoon, which is like, Ileana.
Yeah. She's like,
He sounds like Dracula.
I could never
somehow.
tell if you were being melodramatic or if it was just your accent.
I feel like Colossus has always been a little melodramatic.
He's a little extra.
This
is
a lot.
Melodramatic and
Whole
gaslit.
bunch of-
This is better than
Delightful.
492 Colossus Bloodline. The one where
492 yeah.
Colossus finds out that he is actually related to Rasputin.
Like Grigori Rasputin.
Yeah.
Like
Hellboy Rasputin.
that is the most like Marvel Comics thing though, right?
Do you
like making
Wait,
the
Adam, do you
teenage
think
role.
people know Grigori Rasputin best from being a supporting character in Hellboy?
100%. Or the Anastasia
Okay.
animated movie. Yeah. one of
Honestly,
those
I
two
think
things.
closer to that one.
Yeah.
That one does. I do think that if you were talking about an American audience, they do probably most know him from the Anastasia movie.
yeah.
I'm still
It's-
waiting for him to show up in War and Peace. I feel like
Anastasia
That is, it is like 100 years before he's alive.
listen. It's all pre-cars.
Zach's
That's all
looking
I
for
know.
those.
It's all free cars.
Zach's looking for those bonus chapters in War and Peace. You know, the extra features. The book's
Hold
not long
on.
enough.
Napoleon Bonaparte is a large part of this book, as is Tsar Peter of Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
but-
about the Napoleonic Wars. I mean, should
You
be
know
in
that
there, right?
Rasputin was a companion of the very last Tsarina of Russia, which was in the 20th century.
Again, I did also. What was it really in the 20th century?
Yeah.
I guess that's when the communists would have taken over.
Yeah, it was in the middle of World War One.
Was it in the? Okay.
There were
Oh,
cars.
I
And
should
there-
really
and there were
learn
cars.
European history.
I read a whole book on Lenin last year, so that was it kind of put it in an interesting.
No,
kind of
no,
thing.
Chris. Lenin died in like the mid 70s, and he was born, I think, in the post World War II. So you've got your time.
Yeah, it would be really hard for you to sit on him and read a book.
What?
You said you read a book on Lenin.
Jesus.
Me and Christy went on two very different directions,
Very different directions for jokes.
and I think that says a lot about us.
So, how high are we going here, folks?
I mean, it's not as good as X-Men Regenesis at 482.
Yeah, it's not. Let's see what else is in here.
It's not as good as X-Men The Burning World, the G. Willow Wilson X-Men arc, but probably better than What If Legion killed Magneto.
Is this better than the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire, though, Zach? I don't think it is. I do think it's better than Dino Rachel at 490.
Fine. We can. I say fine like I am holding like a big grudge on this. This can be
Zach's so angry.
on this
Oh,
random issue that I did forget existed.
This is
Well,
great.
This is great, folks. I hope you had as much fun as we did. Sometimes the podcast episodes can be for us to hang out with our friends who we haven't gotten to chat with in like. I haven't gotten to chat with in a bit. Adam, you got to.
Yeah, Adam had Thanksgiving with us.
Yay. That was awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you again. And I just got your
Yeah.
Christmas card in the mail today. You guys look really cute. The whole family.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we got yours, and you guys are also adorable.
Zach, the one to your family should be in the mail. It just probably hasn't gotten there yet.
We
It's
did get
okay.
yours.
Zach,
You did.
wins. Zach definitely wins Christmas card wars with the gatefold Christmas card. I've never seen anything like that before.
I
Oh
need
man, the
everyone
return
listening-
address stamp. Oh,
I need everyone listening to know that was 100% my wife, and she said, "Here are my leftover Christmas cards. You can send them to your friends because you didn't think about this ahead of time, Zach." And I was like, "Yeah, I really didn't. I never think about Christmas cards, do I?"
I love it.
No,
So then she was
we
like-
definitely got one from you one year with you in a Christmas sweater. Am I making that up?
No, that's
Yeah,
just the picture that's been my author profile for several years on the website we all wrote for at one point.
Zach was just sending out headshots that year for presents. Oh,
but no,
wait,
we've gotten a lot of comics people Christmas cards this year.
I forgot we forgot to mention the mystery inside that Uncanny X-Men issue where Professor X is mourning his dead students, and we identified that it was not Doug, it was Rusty in one of those.
It did
Oh,
look
yeah,
like
there's three
Rusty
pictures.
Collins, yeah.
And, friend of the show, Nola Fowl, did ask a question to all of us, like, who in the world is this? And we're like, is it Rusty? And the problem with it being Rusty is no one cares about Rusty. So we're like, they wouldn't have thought about putting his picture.
I'm very
I'm sorry,
proud
are we
of
talking
figuring
about
that out.
Fire Fist?
We're talking about
Yes.
Fire Fist, buddy.
Yeah.
Fire Fist from the movie Deadpool 2.
Fire Fist from the movie Deadpool 2,
Amazing.
featuring Cable.
I'm sorry. I hate to rewind there. I just wanted to make sure we snuck that in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just because
I
I'm
think
so
that's
proud
great.
of identifying that Walt Simonson's art was in a random copy and paste in this issue for no reason.
I love when they do that in comics, when they literally like paste someone's like portrait and it's from like a completely different artist,
Yeah.
from a completely different issue, from a completely different decade. Oh, incredible.
It's
It's like,
wild.
why
It's
do the
stuck
X-Men
out like
have
a
a
sore
large
thumb.
frame picture of classic X-Men #1 on their wall? He's like, because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because we all enjoy it. Have some joy and cheer in your life. And really, folks, isn't that what this season's all about?
It really is. And Chris, even though you're not podcasting, is there anything that you'd like to plug?
I'm literally not working on anything right
Yeah,
now.
I'm plugging comfort and joy.
Yes. All right.
Folks, I love how we are all in our hermit eras.
Hmm.
We have just like taken a slanket and put it around us and said, this is what we're going to be now.
I mean, I still edit things, so I haven't written anything in a while.
It's all cozy. We're all having fun. And that's what's
Mhm.
important. Adam, as our sole beacon to the outside world, anything?
Well, you say that, but I'm not really on Twitter anymore. So, folks, if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at adam.rec. That's where I'm doing most of my social media posting these days. Not really on Twitter anymore due to the whole musk of it. By the time this episode comes out, or at least the week this episode comes out, I think I do have a piece coming out on Gatecrashers about the movie Duel. So I hope you check that out, and I'll share links of that online. And Zach, anything you want to pitch before we wish everybody a happy holidays?
Check out our 2002 best of list that
Yes.
should be out, maybe, or not, or it's coming soon. Who knows? Go check it out anyway. I talk about what I thought was my favorite comic of the year.
Me-
And by that, I mean the one I felt like writing 250 words about at the time I had to make a selection, which is the best way to do this.
Yes, list making
Truly.
at its best.
Truly.
Well,
That's what I did
folks,
last
it's the right move.
year.
This has been great. Christy, thank you again so much for spending the holidays with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It was fun.
An absolute joy.
Absolute joy. Next week, folks, we're talking about, and I quote, "Hi, I only like X-Men comics based on major motion pictures. I would like to request Battle of the Atom cover this comic. It's just the movie Face Off with Wolverine and Sabretooth." So we're going to do that. Until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!